Hey, what's going on, guys? This your boy Mike. I want to say thank you for supporting me. Those who have subscribed to my channel, and those who haven't subscribed, it's your first time watching. I would like to ask you to please like, share, subscribe. YouTube, search Mike Flair, MICFLAIR. Mike Flair at YouTube, Instagram, Mr. Mike Flair, and Twitter, Mr. Mike Flair. So, last subject we talked about was stability, and we talked about how stability is one thing that can really help you in life, especially as a man. You really want to have as much stability as you can have because it gives you that life balance. It gives you that ease of mind when you have stability in place. So, the next Lego to build on top of that we're going to talk about is consistency, being consistent. Consistent. What are you consistent at doing? A lot of times, people always say, how do you know about me, or how can you read me, or how do you know, what am I good at? It's watching people's results, watching people's behavior. Everybody is consistent at something. And this is the time where you have to be honest with yourself and be accountable with yourself and understand and learn about yourself about what am I consistent at. Because you can be good at something and you can be consistent at something. But sometimes what you're good at, you may not be consistent at. And what you're consistent with, you may not be that good at. So it's like a oxymoron almost, but when you can line those two up and you find out what you good and what you consistent at, that's something you can build around. That's something you can build your career around. And a lot of times, people, even I've done it, you end up going to school for something that really don't fit what you're consistent at. And if you can figure that out before you pick your degree or pick your plan or your career, you will have a better chance of success. Because what you really want to do is you want to get the percentages and the odds on your side and give yourself the best chance to win and be successful. And that's what I strive to just give people insight on. Don't be so afraid to try different things to know what you're consistent at. And don't have an ego so big that you don't realize, you know what, I'm not that good at this. So let me get to something that I'm consistent at. So the meaning of being consistent is to do something in the same way over a period of time. Pretty much, I'll give you an analogy of basketball. When you look at stats on the back of a basketball card or football, a person that averages 24 points a game, that means they're consistently going to give you 24 points a game. That's going to be their average. You can depend on this person to give you 24 points a game. So now, let's bring this back to real world status. So if you work at a place, if you go to school at a place, if you're consistent, that means you're always in class on time. That means the teacher know that at this time, on time, you're going to be in your seat consistently. And that means something. It says something to another person what you're consistent in doing. A person that's an entrepreneur, they have to be consistent in taking care of their business, dotting those I's and crossing those T's. So a person that's really consistent, you can tell because the results will speak for itself. Being consistent at your job will lead to more opportunities because being consistent, it speaks volumes more than you talking about stuff. It's about the work that you do. When you're consistent in taking care of your work and being caught up, it opens doors and opportunities for you that you probably didn't even think was there. I can tell you that from experience. What does it say or communicate when you are consistent in doing something? It says that this person is about their business. This person takes care of business. And a lot of people will invest in you. A lot of people respect you the more consistent that you are. Being inconsistent, it says that either you're not good at it or you don't take it seriously enough to be consistent. And a lot of times, um, a person that's not consistent in something, they either don't like it or they're just doing it out of because they want attention or they're really trying to get got some kind of agenda or something. But at the end of the day, if that person don't enjoy doing it and they're not consistent, you end up burning out because you was taking on something that didn't fit you and you couldn't be consistent at it. So be careful about your intentions when you choose to do something, because if you're not consistent at it, that's going to say a lot to the people that's watching you and seeing what you're doing. So, consistency is one of those things that you need to have along with stability, because it will make you a better person in the long run. But you have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to think about what you're doing before you get into it and understand that choice, the power of choice and the power of decision making is all wrapped up in that consistency and stability piece. So you always want to think about that and always strive to be consistent in whatever you do. If you want to work in retail, be consistent with being on time, be consistent with communication, being nice, making yourself available. They always tell you that your best ability is your availability. So being consistently at work and on time and showing them that you about your business and taking care of your stuff, it says a lot to your employer. It says a lot when you show up to class and be consistent. It says a lot to your teacher. Even, people in your family, they see you're consistent at doing something, they respect it more than if you're being inconsistent, like, not being on time or, showing up to class every now and then, or let's say at a job, you call in all the time. If a person calls in all the time, but then expect them to be compensated, they can use that against you. You want to be compensated, but you're not being consistent with coming to work. So think about that as a trait that you want to have, is being consistent. So what does it take to be consistent at something? One thing that I've learned is not everybody wants to be consistent all the time, because being consistent is going to cost you something. To be consistent, it's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you that idle free time that you have to take on a project and be consistent at it. Like with me going to school now, the little free time I had, all that is devoted to making sure that I take care of my homework, making sure that I spend that time with my family, not, try my best to balance that time between family and work and school. It's not easy, but it can be done with communication and being consistent with my family, with my wife. My family supports me, but I try to provide that consistency time with spending with them and not try to make them feel like I'm cutting their time as to being the leader of the household. I have to manage that time with them and be consistent with that so everything can run smoothly. With my job, I have to be consistent with my job. I work in systems, the server side. We get a lot of requests to do things from a server admin perspective, so you have to consistently be able to access machines and access front ends and interfaces to get your job done, and that's a consistent thing. That's an everyday thing. Sacrifice, a lot of people, they don't want to sacrifice what it what it takes to be consistent. But I'm telling you, from experience, if you make the sacrifice to be consistent, you'll be surprised on what doors will open up for you. You'll be surprised on the opportunities that will come your way by making that sacrifice to be consistent. Because you don't realize who's watching you and who's paying attention to you, because nobody's directly sitting there in front of you saying, I'm watching you. So really be mindful on being consistent at what you do, because you never know who's watching, you never know who's seeing. Even with your dress, perception is a real thing, but do not let perception drive you to the point where it drives you crazy, but understanding how to use perception as a tool to build that strategy to success. And that's a whole nother topic with perception, but as far as consistency, if you dress professional, dress casual, that would put you ahead of some people who don't think they need to dress that way. And believe me, I used to be one of those people. I didn't wear a lot of casual clothes or Oxford shirts, like button-down shirts. I used to wear a lot of jeans and tennis shoes and stuff like that. But as I started to get more sense and understand with the awareness that if I want to move up, if I want to better myself, you have to know how to play the game. And part of the game is you have to dress for success. You have to have that that success look. I went to a job fair not too long ago at my school, and I had a suit on, and a lot of people, even though I wasn't really looking for a job, but it impressed a lot of employers because I had a suit on, and a lot of people there didn't have a suit on. Not knocking the people who didn't have a suit on, but what I'm saying is you can stand out before you even talk. You can put yourself on a higher playing field just by dressing in the small detail things. Before you even talk, you can put yourself in a higher position. So I want you guys to think about that consistency. Am I consistent? When you're being honest with yourself, am I consistent? What can I be more consistent in? Because nobody's perfect, but we can all strive to add more consistency to what we are. And another thing is, a lot of people will try, this part of life, a lot of people will try to have naysayers and people that try to hate on you and try to talk behind your back. But you can outlive the naysayer talk, the negative talk, by being consistent. Because your consistency, people will be like, well, you know, I hear what you're saying, but he's consistent at this, so it ain't lining up with what you're telling me, you know, so I don't know, you know, they'll take the note of what they're saying, but your consistency over time will outshine what somebody's trying to sprinkle behind your back. So even when you make a mistake, if you're consistently doing good, if you make a mistake, people will be like, that's a one-off, you know, that's a one-off, that's uncharacteristic of him because that's not what I see of him all the time. But if you're habitual, you know, doing things habitually, like if you're habitually, you know, stealing something out the grocery store, they're gonna label you a shoplifter. You know, if you consistently paying and you make a mistake and do it one time, they say, oh, this guy, you know, he's a pretty high character guy, he just made a mistake, let's give him another chance. But if you go in there out of 10 times you go into the store, 8 times, you know, you're sticking something in your pocket when you shouldn't, you know, that means, you know, you're going to be labeled a shoplifter because you're consistently trying to take something that's not yours. So consistency is one of those things, one of those keys you need to have in life because it can really take you to the next level. So this is Mike signing out, and I want to say thank you for watching. Please like, view, share, and subscribe to Mike Flair on YouTube. Thank you, and I'm signing out.